Hi, welcome to this video on the Sunwire channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the ritual of the Eucharist. Okay, so some information on that coming from the perspective of enlightenment, right? So what about the ritual of the Eucharist? So we know that this is a ritual that's practiced in the Christian Catholic faith tradition, okay, and Christian beliefs, okay? Great ritual. Definitely think that it's amazing. You know, I'm a big supporter of all faiths, all traditions, all religions, all cultures of the world. I just want to start this video by saying that, I've expressed that before on this channel. I believe that the truth of God is within all of us. Right? And when we remember that, we remember that we're all one, right? In that sense. And when we all get together, we're all united systems in this computer in which we exist, okay? And I think that that's really great. And it's great when we can, live in peace and prosperity all together, and everybody can have their own understanding and knowledge of God. And I think it's important that everybody knows that there is a God. Okay, so that's it. Different cultures have different beliefs, different traditions. If you want to strictly interpret it in one way, that's your choice. And if you want to understand that the truth exists within all cultures, traditions, and religions, so it's if you have a bigger understanding of all those, you definitely have a better understanding of the truth. Okay, about these things. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Eucharist. Today I was inspired. I was watching a video on this, and it's something I've been thinking about discussing for a while. So we're going to talk a little bit about the tradition of the Eucharist, okay? So we're going to talk about the tradition of the bread and the wine, right? We're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk, what's the significance behind it? Maybe one significance. There's other significance, and it's a significance for everyone individually, and that's really wonderful. But one of the reasons for why this tradition exists and what it represents symbolically as well when we understand this tradition. Okay, so we know that Jesus, shared the bread, shared the wine, the blood and the flesh, right? The blood and the body, right? So what does that mean symbolically, right? So that can mean many, many things, and I'll just touch on some of those on this video. Okay, not necessarily exhaustively, because it's a very long conversation, many different ways of seeing it. Okay. One of the ways of seeing it, okay, is that, we know right away, let's look at it this way, we know right away that it's related to a spiritual or a religious, if you want to look at it that way, belief, right? We know it's related to God, right? So why the importance of this ritual? Well, as you pursue God, in your life, as you seek to develop a relationship with God, okay, and we talk about many things on yoga on this channel, and yoga is basically, true yoga is seeking union with the divine, okay? So knowing God, basically, not necessarily trying to take his place, but knowing God, okay? When we look at it from that side, okay, the Eucharist, okay, the tradition, in our culture, in our religion, our faith, what does it mean? Okay, so why are we sharing the body and the flesh? Okay, as we seek to develop spiritually, okay, to basically know God, okay, to union, as a communication system, to increase our ability to receive, hold, and project, okay, as systems, and basically communicate better, and merge essentially with the system if you ever get to that level. Okay, but to know better God, so to get closer to God and to get experiences that confirm that understanding right along the way. So as you're seeking to do that, right, what you're looking to do is union with the divine, union with God, right? So why the tradition, okay, and why are you saying we're going to take in the body of God symbolically, the flesh and the blood symbolically, okay, is because what happens is when you share the same blood with someone, okay, the same flesh essentially, and when you consume the same flesh, okay, what happens is essentially, let's say you're in a group of you have to look at it from the perspective: are you seeking to grow alone, or grow, with everybody, right? So the dharma is basically, if it, you want to bring the dharma, right? Not just for yourself, for everybody, right? So you want all the creation to benefit from your growth, right? Eventually enlightenment and all these things, right? As we know that Jesus became enlightened, right? And has his symbol on the vibrationary field of enlightenment. Okay, so we're seeking spiritual growth. So what you want to do is you say, if you can have a sympathetic, so basically a connecting relationship with someone, right, who is enlightened, right, you can basically, as they grow, basically, you can basically take from them, basically, in that sense. So you basically, the concept of the guru as well, right? So you can basically have the guru and you can take from them, right? And you can never really give back, in a fair way, because what can you really offer your guru? Your guru gives you so much, right? Gives you everything, right? But you can take from the guru, right? So but as the guru, so you can benefit from the guru's growth. So what you can do is you can connect to the guru, right? Connect to the guru. So the guru has his disciples around him, like Jesus had his disciples right around him, right? And to connect to the guru, the concept of connecting. So how do you connect? Well, one of the methods of connecting is, for example, sharing an animal together. Now, not everybody eats meat, and I understand that, and we'll talk about vegetables after, but sharing an animal together. So all together at a big supper, everybody eats from the same animal. Okay, and then you can see basically that the animal helps the growth of creation and the growth towards enlightenment, right? So basically the animal lives within the people that it gives life to, right? As we eat that flesh, for people who eat meat, gives life to that person, right? That life transfers into them, essentially, right? So it's a way of absorbing that life. But what happens is when everybody together eats the same animal, okay, it creates a link between all those people, okay, because essentially they have the same flesh and the same blood within them. So the wine represents the blood and the bread represents the flesh, okay? So in the flesh is the blood, okay? The flesh and the blood come together. And basically when different individuals have that same animal, that same flesh and blood within them, right? It creates a connection between them because they have the same blood within them. Okay? So at a sympathetic level, it creates a connection. So when you share an animal, for example, you eat with your guru and you all eat the same animal, right? You're connected to your guru in a very close way because now you have the same animal within all of you. So what happens is, as that flesh stays within you for the duration of time that it stays within you, and all the growth that you gain from that time as well, for being connected to your guru, right? At that point, you basically grow. You grow in connection to the guru. So that as the guru is growing, right? A proper guru is growing. So basically, as the guru is growing, you grow with the guru. You're connected to the guru. You're connected to that enlightened vibration in a very close way, as you share now blood with it, right? So in that sense, it's a proper way of connecting to the guru, right? Not trying to take from the guru another way, but basically joining with the guru, right? Joining the guru, basically, in that sense, becoming a part of the guru's sangha, if you want to see it that way, or basically disciples, or right? Okay, we'll look at it that way. So that's why there's the concept of sharing the blood and the flesh, the wine and the bread, right? Because what it does is it creates a connection as you eat all together, right? People know, if you eat with people, you create a connection, right? You joke, you laugh and all these different things. But if you eat the same animal as well, it creates another level of connection within you. If you basically take in flesh and blood and you all have the same flesh and blood within you, it creates a connection within you. Okay, so it's important to understand why that tradition exists, right? So, in that sense, when you're, for example, in a church or something like that, in that sense, you have a little bit that community, right? That community that's growing together, right? Under God, right? So basically, all together, everybody shares the wine, shares the flesh symbolically, right? The bread, and the tradition exists, and then all in that way the community can grow together with the person who's leading that community, which happens to be the priest, for example, who would break the bread and all that as well, right? And all this to create that connection between the one who's closer to God, right? Supposed to be closer to God, the priest, for example, and then basically the people who are basically his flock, if you want to see it that way, his disciples or her disciples or anything like that. Okay, so what you're basically doing is a connection to the one who's close to God, or or in the case of, you can create a connection to God, right? Essentially. So that's why you have the concept of that, sharing the flesh and the blood, because it creates a sympathetic reaction by sharing the same blood, right? You often understand, for example, sometimes siblings have like intuition about each other or something like that, that can happen, little things like that, share the same blood. And it's not even the same blood in that case. But when you share the same blood of an animal directly for a period of time, right, while that animal's within you, you share a connection in that sense as well, that can be experienced to a different degree by different people, but it's also symbolic that it's a connecting in that way, but it actually has an effect where you share that connections as well. So for example, you might have dreams of people that you shared that animal with or something like that, right? Something that connects you with them, brings you closer to them in that sense, and often in ways that you might not be aware of as well. Okay, so basically it's connecting your spiritual growth to their spiritual growth in that sense as well, right? And also it can be pleasant, to share a supper together, right? And a good occasion to talk about important things as well. Okay, so that's one of the reasons for the Eucharist. The tradition, basically, that connection to God, right? And also, by accepting to eat with that person, to accept to be with that person, right? To sit down and relax, to be with that person, to break bread with that person, is also symbolic of the devotion towards the Guru as well, the devotion towards God, right? That is represented in the Guru. So basically, now you see a little bit the importance of the Eucharist in that tradition. It's not in all traditions or faiths or cultures, and then it kind of shows you how you have all the different cultures and traditions that come together. The ones that talk about enlightenment, the one that talk about God, the one that talk about, and they all come together in the truth of things. Basically, as all the pieces, on the treasure trail, basically of God's truth, right? The journey, right, have been scattered everywhere, on purpose, so that people can come to other cultures and learn from other cultures, and basically grow as they meet other cultures and expand their horizons, if you want to see it that way, and understand the different components and different facets of the jewel of God's truth, right? Which is basically spread everywhere to bring everyone together. Actually, God's has a little bit, is a little cute that way, where He wants people to be closer together and to learn about each other and to be peaceful and prosperous together and happy, and know that He exists, know that He loves them, but know also that they have responsibilities as beings that have been given life to be good people, right? Strong but good people. And so that's one of the reasons for the Eucharist. So it's the connection through blood, through flesh, to the leader of a group that's growing together, learning together spiritually, right? So it's that connection, and it's the connection to the Guru, to the one who's closest to God, essentially, right? So you can also potentially have other people that could be very close to God, in the community as well. And by partaking as well in that way, everybody can grow in that way as well, right? So it's a very interesting tradition, and a very symbolic and important one for many people. Okay, so that's one of the ways of seeing the importance of the Eucharist. It's the connection to God. It's the connection to the Satguru, right? At that point. Now we'll get back to the wine and the bread. Now we're taking away the animal part. Okay, the animal is a way of doing it, right? Sharing the same flesh and blood, but you can do it through wine and through bread as well. Okay, and the reason you can do it through wine and bread as well, okay, is because technically there is no difference between the wine and the bread and the animal. Okay, all of them exist. Okay, and what you're doing here essentially is you're basically doing that, not only symbolically, but you're actually doing it, because what happens is, as the bread is connected, as the very stuff that makes the bread, right, is basically connected. The wine, the connected, the grapes have merged together, have mixed together, right? Look at it from the side of the particles, the atoms, right, that are within them, have created a connection with each other, right? And that connection is basically shared to the community that takes the Eucharist, right? Essentially, so in that sense, and it's basically that symbolic of the flesh and the blood, right? But it's basically a more advanced way of seeing it as well than necessarily having to use an animal, because you see that there's no difference between the blood, the flesh of the animal, and what is in the wine, for example, the connection and that it brings people together, right? Because technically we're all connected, right? This is a method of helping to connect, right? Of committing to that connection to God, to the Satguru, to the Guru, okay, to the one who's enlightened, to the one who's leading that spiritual community, right? And for the community to connect together as well. But everything is one, so when you see it, it's a method of committing to that, right? And a method also of sharing and connecting to the leader of that community. But you also know that technically you're already connected, right? You're already connected. You're not just connected for the time when that bread or that wine is within you. You're already connected, right? To everyone. Everybody is connected. Everybody can connect. If you meet someone, you can touch them, you can connect with them. If you separate, but what happens is we're all connected by strings and vibrational levels, right? And you can connect with people or anything at any time, right? When you get into more advanced levels of practice. So the importance of that tradition, the Eucharist. Okay, now I'm talking specifically about this tradition in this video, okay, and I will try to talk about the importance of different elements of different cultures, traditions, religions as much as possible. Time is limited, but I do my best. Let's just say that there's a lot to talk about. Okay, and I hope that this video was informative for some of you. So if you like this video, please click like, subscribe, and share this video if you're interested in sharing this video with other people. And then you can kind of, based on this understanding, see why many different traditions have that culture, that tradition of dining together, right? As part of a ceremony, right, of dining together, and basically how that brings the community together and how the community grows together, right, when you do that. And basically, when you can commune to someone who is close to God, you grow closer to God as well, right? And then when you realize that you were all already connected, so why not connect to God directly? Okay, thanks so much for listening.